Welcome to the Master Your Genius podcast with Keith Cornies. Listen in and learn as he coaches entrepreneurs to master their genius. Here's your host, Coach Keith.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Coach Keith here, and wow, today's amazing. I'm speaking with Master Certified Coach Rae Chois. We cover so much ground. We give you the insight into coaching, some really great things that we do and how we do it, and how to pick a coach, what to look for, and also I want you to know in here is like layers and layers and layers of stories and things that are going to take your game to the next level. And if anything else, you get a vision into what it's like to be a coach. So I hope you enjoy it. Have a great listen. All right, everybody. How you doing? It's Coach Keith here. We are in Master Your Genius podcast, module 17 with Rae Chois. Rae, how are you doing?
Hey, Keith, I'm absolutely exceptional. So profoundly grateful to have this opportunity to connect with you today.
Yeah, it's going to be powerful.
I miss you.
Yes, well, we have been in contact. It's like an old friend. You just pick up where you left off. You don't need to. I believe that good friendships, I don't wait for people to call me. I call them and it just works out. So as well as being a great friend, a great mentor, and a great coach. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about coaching, how you can apply it to your life, how it's important. Like, we're going to go in so many different angles so fast. Rae and I are both fire hoses. We give way too much information. I'm just hoping that you're going to hear this, hear the person that trained me, the power of that, and then also the power of what she's doing. Rae is a 20-year master certified coach in the International Coaching Federation. She became a master certified coach in 2008, which means that she's accumulated over how many hours, Rae, to be an MCC back then?
Yeah, you had to have 2,500 hours. So
Right,
I did a lot of coaching. I started in 2002 to 2008. I mean, I was really into it.
That's right. And the way she became a coach, if you want to tell the quick story, is she worked at the Olympics in Utah in 2002. So tell that quick story.
Yeah, I realized in that moment, after I trained 30,000 staff and volunteers to host the world for the Olympics, the big awakening moment. I mean, it wasn't me personally, a team, but I was an intricate part of that team. And I realized as I was walking on venue that nobody makes it to the Olympics without a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do, your best life on your own. And so when I got that was in 2002. The coaching industry was just kind of a budding profession. Thomas Leonard had launched something called the International Coach Federation and Coachville. And I had a motivational psychology background. And I said, oh my God, I want to support beautiful souls, simple people like me, to get a gold medal in their own life on their own terms, whatever that means to them.
Powerful.
And so that's when I took it on, and I said, this is it. This is the most meaningful thing. And for the last 20 years, it's guided every aspect of my life. I have never had a job since working for the Olympics.
Wow. Brilliant. So in 2005 to 2013, Rae worked at Erickson College, where it's the arts and science of coaching. And that's where I met Rae in about 2000, I believe, 9 or 2011. And my life changed, and I'm going to share that with you guys real quick here. And then she's published 3 or co-published 3 different books. She's got a great program. She's got some amazing giveaways for everyone that's listening today. Go to my website, click on the link, or Instagram and click on the link. We'll provide a link attached to this as well in YouTube. Gremlin Busters, which we'll get to and talk about, and then also the Masterful Communication Roadmap. And we're also going to talk about how you can apply a coaching philosophy or a coaching model or, into your life with your friends, your family, the art of asking questions and listening and all that great juicy stuff. And we'll share our experiences on that. So hopefully we can give you some in-depth information so you guys can feel that you get value from this, and we can also share some good experiences. So awesome. So Rae, let's get started. And I want to start with the power of a question. What do you want to say about the power of a question?
Very simply, I hope this isn't cliche, but questions are the answer.
Mm.
You know, it's like as soon as you answer a question, you cut yourself off from life. But if you live into a question, so for example, you and I both know that when you're living from your core values, you're never done.
Mhm.
So my values hierarchy shifts a lot, but right now, the core values that I'm living from, because there's relative values, right? Those change, and then there's your core values.
That's right.
But my core values in order are love, freedom, and contribution. And so when I'm asking myself, how might I be much more love in this moment, right? Or what would
Mhm.
love do in this moment? It's like it's the question is the living energy of my own awakening.
Well, you're
So when
actually tapping into your deeper self, the more thinking, not your conscious mind. Mine are commitment, discipline, protection, loyalty, and kindness. And it's like, how can I be more kind today? If I was more kind, what things would I be doing that I'm not doing now? If I was more disciplined, what could I be doing that's more disciplined? And what would that bring me more of that these are great living into the questions, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And I've hacked the word discipline. I call it bliss-ipline
Yeah,
because I want to be a
yeah,
joy, right? I don't want to be in the heavy
yeah.
energy of hard work all the time. I've been there, done that. That was my first 25 years on the planet. Nobody wanted to be around me. So, I had to kind of graduate from, being on the treadmill and working so hard all the time into a bliss-ipline. But, it's just like, how might I be more bliss-iplined in this moment? How might I? And so the question has this open, expanded quality, and you're always living into the answer, right?
Well, and the
So it's
beauty
like,
of it, yeah, and the
yeah,
beauty of it is too is being aware of bliss-ipline. That's the number one thing, is identifying bliss-ipline. And somebody out
yes.
there might be like, okay, well, how do I identify my core values? How do I get in touch with
Mm,
that, so that I
mm.
can then use that as the filter in which I go into these questions?
Well, the best way to do it is to work with a coach. Like literally, our conscious mind is only 5% of our power, and that's what we're working with all day long. And when we have a beautiful soul, another human being, okay, that holds a space for us, we get access to that other 95%. And, that's what you've been doing, Keith, for well over a decade. And it's been such a pleasure watching you take these coaching tools that you learned back. It was 2009. Okay. I
Hmm.
remember it was
Hmm. Yeah.
2009, right after I crashed. Actually, I had
Hmm.
a big awakening in my life around taking my coaching to the next level. And then I met you, and you were like really closed when I met you. I'm going to be totally honest. You
Hmm.
were a very successful man. You had a lot going for you, and you were kind of like, prove these coaching skills,
Oh God,
right?
Ray, I remember. No, I remember. I told you I was in the first meeting, and you're like, "Okay, everybody, let's set the intention for the day." And I'm like, "Who talks like this? This person isn't real. She's not real." And then it was like, and I'm like, and I'm typing away in my computer. I'm going to end. I'm not going to take this course. This is bullshit. These guys are all fluffy. And I looked around the room, and there was a laughing yoga expert in the corner, and then the lady beside me, I was judging her. And so you asked me to set the intention, and I set the intention to not be so judgmental. Then you
I love
applied,
it.
then you applied an exercise. And you're a great facilitator as well. Let's not
Thank
let's
you.
make
Yeah.
people understand that if you're out there and you're a leader, you want to coach, you want a coaching philosophy, you also want to be a great facilitator. And we'll talk a little
Yes.
bit about that as well. So you said, okay, everyone interview the person right beside you and introduce them to the room. And I interview this lady,
Mhm.
and oh my God, you want to talk about the universe providing.
Yeah.
I judged her as nobody, but she had written like 8 books, and she had ran 3 companies and raised 6 children on her own as a single mom. And I had goosebumps. And
Yes.
when I stood up to introduce her, I was so excited to introduce her. And
Yeah.
I did. And then at the end of that day, you're like, okay, everyone, let's go back to your intention. And what are you noticing? Did you achieve your intention? And it totally
Mm,
had transformed me. And I was like, from that moment on, the block
yeah.
wasn't down yet. The blockade wasn't
Yeah.
down yet. I'm a
Right.
skeptic by heart, and it's funny
Yes.
because yeah, it's you remember that like I was
Yeah.
yeah I was an
And if
actor.
you remember, I told you to be skeptical. I'm like, I want
Oh,
you to be skeptical. I want you to test every aspect of this. So many people start to hear a coaching conversation or they learn about coaching. They're like, that's so Pollyanna. It's so surface. Oh, it's all
mm-hmm,
solution focused. There's real
mm-hmm,
problems in this world, don't you know? And
yeah,
so I really tell people, be skeptical, like
Well,
really.
that's beautiful, because the thing about science is all other scientists, when they have a discovery, they want the other scientists to prove that discovery wrong. That's the science community. And if we are in the arts and sciences of coaching, and that's something I never knew. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't remember that, but I do now. But and one of the things that I do now is I'm like, guys, challenge me, ask, like, if you don't think what I'm doing here is right, or thinking, like, bring it back to me. And when you did that to me and you allowed me to challenge you, or you allowed me to be the skeptic, it actually went away.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to share a little coaching tool. This is kind of a secret tool. You don't actually expose this to your clients, but you give their ego a bone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You let their ego have their way with it. They get to be right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you do that and they're chewing on it and chewing on it and chewing on it, it gets exhausting after a while. Okay. And then it's like, wow, what am I missing out on? And so it's like, there's ways that you can trick the mind to stepping
Oh
into the
yeah.
greatest version of itself. And I was privileged to see that. I had some savvy tools working behind the scenes to kind of smooth
Yeah.
things out. I'm
The
not going to
back
tell you all
door.
my secrets.
The back
Right?
door.
Yeah,
The back door, I call
door.
that, right? You ask a question that has that bone, and they're gnawing on it, and then they just give up, and now they're yours. It's really a really good skill at what we talked about in the coaching is number one is getting good rapport. And sometimes you got to meet that ego where it's at. You got to, be there with them, and
Absolutely.
then take them where you want to go.
Absolutely. Can I share a distinction right now that I think is a really
Sure.
useful one, and that I saw in you? And so that's what I want to keep referring to, the fact that, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm right in that room. And, there's a big distinction that has to do with regulating our nervous system. And we're going to talk, this is the big conversation in today's world. So many people were talking about mindset. It's all about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that other group. It's all about manifestation. But you're not going to have the mindset or the manifestation unless you learn to regulate your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really key. And in regulating the nervous system, there's a distinction that I think is really, really important as we're not only learning coaching skills, but regulating our own inner world. And that's the question, am I a thermometer, or am I a much bigger energy than that? Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so
Right.
we could
Which
go
is
deeper and
called
deep. Yeah, we
the
could go deeper.
thermostat.
Yeah.
Right. The thermostat.
Yeah, we can go deeper and deeper here. Yet what I want you to know is when I'm listening to you speak about that, it's like inner world. Do you know how many people don't know they have an inner world? Do you realize that when we sit down with them and we're like, what's a belief that you have, and they don't realize that belief is self-talk, and they don't realize that is a programming or something. And then when you allow them to at least meet their inner world,
Yes.
then
Yes.
because we can go deep like you wanted to. That's amazing, because I know with your experience, and I know that you are an international coach, you traveled the world. I'm very lucky to get your time today, and I know that you transform lives with deep coaching. My clients, entrepreneurs, business people, some of them will do that journey, absolutely. And when they do, they get that benefit. And some of them, they just want a quick return. And Milton Erickson, his practice was about quick therapy. So at least you could take action and get a result, and then keep coming back instead of getting tired of therapy. Right?
Yes. Huge. Absolutely huge. So this is a little hack. Can I give it to you? Because it really is a very key distinction, and all great leaders know this, and they have the ability to regulate their nervous system. It is the most important thing in today's world, with this changing world, and you never know what's going to happen. You have to regulate your own nervous system. You have to be in control of your state rather than your state controlling you. And this is so important for entrepreneurs. It's so important for leaders. And so when you're asking yourself, am I being a thermometer in this moment, or am I being a thermostat? Let me be clear on this distinction. If you're a thermometer, you walk into a room, you read the energy, and then you join that vibration, that energy. Okay. So you're just reading the temperature and you're joining. Okay. But there's a much, much more powerful place to
Mhm.
be. And that's to be the thermostat, because the thermostat enters the room and everybody adjusts their energy to match the thermostat.
Mhm.
Was talking with my son this morning. He is in love with LeBron James. And
Mhm.
we were talking about, is LeBron James, a thermometer, or is he the thermostat? And he's like, oh my gosh, mom, my body's getting tingles. He's like the greatest thermostat. Everyone on the team wants to do it for LeBron James, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I
So
know
great.
LeBron
Let's
James.
go here. Let's go here.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
go. An entrepreneur, usually has something to sell or a business to run, and when they walk into a room,
Yes.
they need to own the room. They need to get the room to come to
Yes.
them. Uh,
Yes.
some good tips that you might give somebody to be a thermostat versus being the thermometer. Some good
Okay.
tips.
So the first thing is when you enter the room, like let's just think of someone who's probably the greatest thermometer of all time, someone like Donald Trump. Okay, he enters the room and he's like the thermometer, but he's going to
Mhm.
break rapport because he didn't read the room.
Mhm.
So you do need to take a temperature and have what's called emotional intelligence, right? To kind of
Mhm.
read what's going on. That's what we call rapport skills. That's, when you can read something, you build trust and intimacy with people. Okay, if you just come in and you're the biggest person in the room and you take over the room, you're going to break rapport. So you
Mhm.
have to be able to read it, but then there's a certain point where you're feeling what's going on, feeling what's going on. And then because you've done so much inner work on yourself, you set the tone. That's what all great leaders do, is they raise the vibration just by being in the room. They raise the energy level.
You
Okay.
could almost say that their confidence, which is a process of building themselves, is the law
Yes.
of attraction, a calm
Yes.
confidence versus
Yes.
an agitated insecurity. And sometimes, right?
Ooh.
So that's the
Yes.
opposite. So if I'm a
Yes.
thermometer and I'm in there, I'm
Yes.
kind of agitated and insecure. But when I'm the thermostat, I have a calm confidence. And that comes from the
Beautiful.
deep work, the core value search, the purpose driven life, and
Yeah.
one of Rae's wonderful courses that you're getting is the Masterful Communication Roadmap, where you talk about these things. And like, how many hours is that whole tape series?
Well, I'm just so honored. The reason why I'm giving it to everybody that's in your community is because you fell in love with it and it was a game changer for you. So I said, I'm going to be super generous and give this to everyone. And it is 10 hours of content. And I realized, like, wow, these people are just meeting me. Why do they want to listen to me for 10 hours? But I'll tell you, you do that, it's going to change your life, because it is all about how do you become the most masterful, fully present, fully confident leader you can be. And it's all about communication. So when you
Well,
can read the room and
yeah,
then deliver, yeah, you're
and
amazing,
be
right?
and being a leader in your
Yes.
family, being a leader in your marriage, being a leader,
Yes.
like not just being a
Yes.
leader in the work world, being a
Right.
leader, like, a great book
Yes.
that I read that shifted my life was Leader Without a Title by Robin Sharma, because I always believed you needed to be the CEO to be a leader. I never thought little old Keithy could
Mm,
make an impact in the world because I don't have that leader title, right? And so that
right.
book was really a really good shift. My kids hate that book, but I personally, it was a good book for me. And so, being a leader, being a thermostat, coming in, being emotionally intelligent, measuring the
Yes.
room. And of course, if
Yes.
you're aware of your own and what you were calling your own nervous
Nervous
system,
system.
could you put that
Yes.
kind of I don't mean, I just want to hear it in layman's terms for people out there that are
Okay.
going, oh, nervous system. What are you meaning by that?
Okay, well, let's make it really simple. We
Mhm.
all know, and I'm going to just call it because this is a very simple concept. We all know when we're below the line.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're in the low, like there's actually a frequency map called the map of consciousness. It's put out by David Hawkins. It's absolutely extraordinary. And it literally, they use muscle testing to actually tailor the frequency of human beings. But there's a particular line that most of humanity is under. Okay. And it's the line of 200. Okay, so the line of 200, everything below 200, the low stuff is like shame, anxiety, depression. Okay, and then it goes up a little bit, and anger. Anger at least has a little bit of energy to it. Okay, but it's still focusing on what you don't want. It's a problem focused world. Okay, when you're angry because you're fighting for something you don't want to have happen. So all of that, and then we get into pride, and somebody that's coming from pride, that's about a frequency of 170. It's really their ego, right? And egos are very fragile, as you know. Ego, right? Edging your greatness out.
That's right.
My husband says, my ego is not my ego.
Do you believe in a humble pride? Do you believe in a humble pride? Do you think that's a part of us that we need? Or do you think, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that particular, I didn't make up the map of consciousness. David Hawking said that particular, I believe that if we take humility, and link it into confident awareness, then we're getting into a much higher frequency. Okay. That is somebody that is focusing on what they want, because the big thing, everything below the line is shaming, blaming, and complaining. It's focused on trauma. It's focused on the drama. It's focused on, the event and the circumstance. So it's focused on the past. And it's focused on the problem. Okay. You hang out there all day long, and it's like you are absolutely in an unregulated nervous system because your state is running you. The guy in traffic that honks his horn, takes your limbic brain and throws you into overdrive, and all of a sudden you have an overactive limbic system and you are self-sabotaging, right? You're cutting the guy off, you're honking at him, and you're like, whoa,
you're in
where did that person come from?
That's the amygdala hijack. It's
absolutely
taken over. It's riding your life. Your bus is now being driven by all the drama, history, pain, past, everything. Yeah, for sure.
But so that's your nervous system not regulated. Okay. That's below the line.
All right.
But when you get above the line, it's a different world. When we cross 200, it's the level of courage. Okay. It takes courage to live your life above the line and not let the outer world control your thoughts and your experiences. And so this is what you were talking about as the inner work, because your inner world, determines if you are a thermometer or a thermostat.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I want people to understand here is yes, you can be aware, take your temperature. Who are you? What are you doing? How do I become this? You ask that question, or you ask that question like, how do I bring out the best of my core values in this situation? You're no longer managing your life. You're now leading and living your life, because you're now getting more of what you want instead of less of what you want. Yet don't confuse owning the room. Like you said, Donald Trump can own the room, but then he could break rapport because he's not aware that his words are impacting people in a negative way. So you own the room and know that power comes with responsibility, right?
Yes.
Like if your son met LeBron James and he's like, ooh, and then LeBron James just like spits out, horrible verbiage. Yeah, right. And he's like, kid, you should quit school. School sucks. You're like, oh, okay, LeBron, thank you. That comes with responsibility. And, and as a coach, I feel very responsible to hold that space, and very responsible. I feel like I get huge value out of my life getting people to learn their genius. And it's my responsibility not to implement my vision of the world into their world.
Wow. What a beautiful gift, right? Because so many other professions are playing expert in other people's lives. And coaching is the one profession that gives people the opportunity to come up with their own solutions, especially on the level of vision, identity, and core values. Now, when we start to get into how to do something, what to do, and when to do it, it's like we can brainstorm together. But as soon as the client is given the opportunity, their resources skyrocket. So that's what's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you go to vision, identity, and you go to values and beliefs, you're talking about the logical levels, the work that was done by
Robert Dilts. Yeah. Gregory Bateson was the original creator.
Exactly. But a lot of people have covered it. But what's brilliant about what you're doing there is, when I was in coaching, Rae taught me that to deepen a process, to get people to take action instead of just going from the idea, but to take action was to deepen the process by walking them up to the vision, right? And then
Yes.
I recently have been reading Milton, a couple books written about Milton Erickson and how
Oh,
he was,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he was a hypnotherapist, and yet his practice, he used guided visionary, which is what
Yes.
you taught me, which is actually uh, is this really good gift for me. I can really do that because I really believe in it so much. I
Mhm.
want the client to get it, and when they can actually disassociate and go into a vision, feel that vibration, feel that emotion, the chance
Mhm.
of them taking action increases, doubles, triples, quadruples. Right.
It's an amplification, big time. It's a big
Right.
time amplification.
So
It's
that's
so,
the
so, so
logical levels,
powerful.
you guys. If you want to search that, check it out, Google it, look at the logical levels. Go to one of my programs, both of my programs, Purpose Driven Masterclass, Purpose Driven Realtor. In there, I talk about the logical levels and deepening your connection to the action to get it to be done and
So
there to flow.
important. It's a game changer. Once you start at the top and you do that deep inner work, because your inner game leads to your outer game. I mean, everybody knows this. Okay, it's not rocket science. We all know that our inner world creates our outer world. Everything happens first in mind, then in reality. The chair that I'm sitting on, somebody dreamed it up, right?
Hmm.
It's like didn't
Hmm.
just appear. Like you have to use the creativity and the genius. And what coaching does is it opens people's worlds, right? It's like it just opens up the space. And all of a sudden, when the space is held for you, you access that greater part of your mind. You're super conscious. And
Yes.
it's so extraordinary once you have the opportunity to go there. We can't do it on our own. I mean, if you go into
No.
deep meditation every day for, you know,
Good
30
luck.
years, you might be able
You
to start
never.
to
You know what?
access it.
The
Yeah.
one thing that I learned that was hard for me to understand in the beginning as a coach, was listening to my genius to ask the question instead of
Yeah.
intercepting it with my conscious mind to ask a question. And then when I started asking questions from a place of not even knowing what I was going to ask, and them going, wow, great question, then getting like 2, 3, 4 minutes of silence, and then an answer
Yeah.
was so powerful to the point now where, I don't ask directive questions because if they're directive, I'm thinking. So it's like,
Yeah.
what's the next best question you would ask this person to help them, whatever. And then your genius comes up with a question. Listening to your genius is also this inner world. And a lot
Yeah.
of people, they listen to the lower self, they don't listen to the higher self. Do you want to talk to a little bit about that? Or do you know what I'm getting
Yeah,
at there?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of key distinctions. First of all, the ego, any loops that you're going through, that's all ego. Okay, so I call those ants.
Mhm.
ANTS. It's actually a Daniel Amen term. Automatic negative thoughts. Okay,
Yes.
and we have about 15 seconds. So if I have a thought where I say to myself, "Oh my God, I was so stupid," like let's say I had this interaction or something. Oh my God, what I said was so stupid. I have about 15 seconds to catch myself. Okay. Because as soon as I start to, diminish myself in that way, I start to lower my vibration. Right. Okay. Because I just called myself out and I shamed myself. Okay. And
Mhm.
that's the frequency of 20. So if I take myself to the frequency of 20, okay, and I'm beating myself up, if I don't catch that right away, it starts to ruminate. And then I start to go, oh my God, like, look at the tone that I used and look at the words that I used. And oh my God, they're never going to talk to me again. And I start to make this crazy ass story. I call it the ants come marching in, right? It starts to just be
Mhm.
this chaotic thing.
Autonomic system. It's your survival brain pointing out that you're
Yes.
stupid and you're going to die. And it's like,
Yes. And it's,
thank you.
yeah, and it used to take me 3 days to recover from that. Like I used to just
Mm,
go into like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I can't even walk out my front door now because my neighbor,"
yeah.
or whatever. Like,
Shame
it's
spirals.
just
Shame spirals.
holy crow. Would I ever go? I would take myself out of the game. And I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone else can relate to this, but we have so many ways that we take ourselves out and take ourselves down. And we need to catch that because the ego is very, very seductive. It's loud, it's
Oh, it knows
aggressive.
what to say. It knows what to
Oh,
say.
heck yeah. Okay.
And we
But
believe
anytime
it because it's so true. Oh
I
no, I
actually, in
know.
my courses, I have 12 major distinctions, and they're
Yeah.
like really, really robust distinctions around the difference between your ego talking to you and your higher self.
So you know what? Let's go
Yes.
here real quick. And you see,
Sure.
I like to go from topic to topic. I want the people to
Yeah,
get
as long as
they can.
everyone's tracking with us, because we're in this fun matrix of infinite possibility, right?
Exactly. You know, when you connect with yourself and you connect with that higher self, and you know, like you said, you have 12 programs, you just, I have a saying, I will never be alone in my life again because I have me to go through my life with me.
Mm.
And that's my higher self, the person who knows the truth. When you practice your core values, when you practice asking yourself questions, when you notice that you've decided to go into ants, but you want to shift out, and you can catch it because you're noticing the physical trigger in yourself, and you don't want to be below the line, you want to go above the line. This is where coaching helps people have the tools to apply to fight the dark side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if everyone's out there, Rae is magical at vision work, at using her voice and her tones, and her intention is 100,590,000,000% in the right direction. And you can sense by her energy, and it's because it's what she needed in her life the most.
Thank you. Because that's where, we need to, it's one thing to talk about all these tools, but it's like, what are the stories in relationship? The reason why I'm a coach is because I need coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the reason why I'm a coach, is because I have to keep working on myself every single day.
About that shift. Talk about the shift in 2008 when you realized as an MCC that you were coaching, you were doing coaching, but you weren't being a coach, or what was it? How did it go?
Yeah, no, I had a really, well, when I worked for the Olympics, I took on coaching because I realized I needed to actually have my own higher self begin to coach me, because there were so many things that I were doing that were so self-sabotaging, and I wasn't even aware of them. I couldn't see them at the time. They were really, really dysfunctional. Just a lot of negative self-talk. Like, I had this inner balance of, I kind of had two parents. One, my mother was always telling me, and I love her, I have a great relationship with her now, but she was always telling me I was never enough. Okay. And my father was always telling me I was way too much. And I was like in this battle all the time. I'm like, I don't even know who I'm supposed to be. I'm this chameleon, right? It's like, tone it down, show
Look
up.
it up.
Yeah. And it's like, I got rewarded in my family system for achieving things. And I was a girl. Okay. And I had a wall full of trophies and medals, but I was miserable. That's why bliss-ipline is so important to me, is because I lived so many years in discipline and was like always scared. My nervous system was always freaking out, and I was like, if we were 10 seconds late, it was like, and I just
perfectionism.
And I was always amped up. And I was this kid that was always afraid of making a mistake. And of course, the school system also ingrains, you don't make a mistake, right? But we all know great entrepreneurs have to make mistakes. And so we have to have a nervous system that's regulated. But I want to fast forward, because you talked specifically about 2000.
That time where you changed, where you realized you were doing, and you needed to start being. And tell us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So 2002, I got my coaching education. I was absolutely in love with it. I wasn't very good when I started. Okay. Because I was a little bit of a cheerleader type, in case you didn't know my energy, right? It was like kind of amped up and
good for
wasn't
you.
building
Way to
rapport.
Go. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was like, woo, woo, woo. And people are like, you're more excited about my life than I am. I'm like, oh, I better change this. I remember working with this guy from Norway, and he's like, why are you so excited? I'm like, oh. He's like, I'm not even excited about it. I'm like, okay. So I had to actually do a lot of work on myself to kind of regulate, so I could actually pace and lead. I could actually build rapport with people, and they would trust me. So my first 3 years as a coach was really difficult. I was making so many mistakes, and I almost gave up because I was like, I don't think I can do this. And then I hired my first mentor, Rae and Keith. She turned everything around. Okay. That moment when you hire someone or you really invest in yourself, and you're like, I don't want to just do this. I want to do it at the best that I can be. And she's the one that helped me become a master certified coach. So I went on that wonderful journey with her. But in that time frame, which was around, I hired her in about 2005, and we worked together all the way to 2008. But we were focused on my coaching skills and what I was doing to help other people. So it was the skill set of coaching, right?
Right.
And so I got it. I mean, I got my big dream, which was to become a master certified coach. So I think it was April 6th, 2008, I became an MCC, and I was like, yes. And I had 2 little kids. I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And little did I know that 6 weeks later, I would wake up one day and everything in my life would crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can get into intricate details, and I do tell the stories in my programs,
It just wasn't
but
pretty, guys. It just
it wasn't,
was
no,
not
it was
pretty.
actually horrible. I'll just be really clear. My marriage ended quickly. It ended unexpectedly. I was
Mm-hmm.
completely freaking shocked. I had no idea that this was coming. And I was completely abandoned with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like seriously one of those oh shit moments, like, oh my God, like, obviously I haven't been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I really have a lot of work to do on myself. And I went deep, and it was dark for a long time, because I was like, oh my God, talk about imposter syndrome. I was like, Keith, I was like, oh my God, how can I even show up? And I was hiding from everybody, and I didn't want anyone to know what was going on. And I covered it up pretty good. And then one day I really did some deep inner work with one of my colleagues, and I came out of that coaching session bawling, 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 bawling. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, all these years, from 2002 to 2008, you've been doing coaching, but you haven't been being a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You have not integrated this on a cellular level. You're doing a profession, but you're not being it. And this is when I had to call myself out big time, Keith, and really get real with myself. And super, super deep work started in that moment. And it was very, very liberating. It was very humbling.
Well, that's what I
but
want people to understand
yeah.
too, is don't shy away from the tears. Don't shy away from digging deep. Like, in therapy, which I did for 4 years, and then psychotherapy I did for about a year, it was like they just wanted to go and dwell up my past. Nobody ever asked me, Keith, what do you want at the end of this journey? Like, I want to be happy. I wanted whatever. Just give me a target. There was no target. So don't be afraid of the inner deep work with a coach, because a coach has different guidelines and qualities. And then I want to go back to one statement you made. It was like, oh, I realized that I had done this. It's like everything in life is a recipe. There's multiple variants. It's not all about us. If the marriage ends, it's not my fault. It's our fault. If, it's like there's many variables that play in life. And it's like, oh, this person didn't hire me because of me. No, they hired their friend, or it just wasn't the right fit, or, there's so many variables in this world. To bring it down to one variable, I'm the problem, is not going to be helpful for anybody out there.
Yeah.
It's about, I want to improve myself, so I improve the recipe.
Yes. Oh, beautifully said. Can I share a key distinction that helped me?
Yeah. Please.
And it wasn't simple, Keith, because it took all of me, because every part of me was resisting doing this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that I needed to focus on what was within my control. And the big thing that was within my control at that horrible, horrible, horrible time, like I was literally abandoned with everything. He just walked away. I had to deal with everything. I had to short sell my house. Like it was awful. It was so awful. And I, actually went back up north to Canada and went and lived with my mom. Like it was embarrassing.
Lucky for us. Lucky for me.
Right? Yeah, no. So,
boy,
like,
that
not
sure
an
worked
easy
out,
time after becoming
I'm so glad you had that horrible time in your life.
So what happened though, and it took a little bit of time, but it was after that coaching session that I did something that I'd never really done before in my entire life. And that was something called extreme ownership. Mm-hmm. And I just decided that I was going to play the game, not to make myself wrong and little and go way below the line, but to empower myself that I needed to own every aspect of this journey. And that it was, and I needed to focus on what was within my control. And so if I focused on the fact that this extreme ownership, like taking 100% responsibility, gave me the power, okay? Because otherwise I would still to this day be ruminating about my ex-husband. Okay. Like, I mean, it's just so easy to ruminate on. He walked away from his entire family. Like,
Well,
I mean,
the
it's
thing
just,
is too, like by you taking that extreme ownership and that responsibility, that's where fulfillment and meaning to life comes in,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
When I am responsible to my core values, when I am a leader to my family, when I am a loyal person to my wife, I feel honored and I feel fulfilled. But most of all, I feel like it gives me meaning. And then when I'm
Yes.
challenged, you're challenged by something in life to take you away from your core values,
Yeah.
and you decide, no, I'm aware of this challenge. I choose not to go away from my core values. I'm going to stay here. Now I'm building something inside that I don't even know is
Yes.
being built, and that's my legacy that
Yes.
I want to leave behind. And that's the purpose in life
Mm.
and all this great stuff.
And
So
we can
continue
pretend
on.
that we can do that on our own, but it's through the power of coaching and having someone serve us, right? Like be our vision keeper. That was
Okay,
that
so hang
was
on a sec
such an
here. Let's go
important
here. Let's
part.
go here. Picking a
Yes.
coach, right?
Yes.
Because you and
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people that have zero training and they just go out there and they're tellers. Telling is,
Mm.
we know this and that's okay. The world is like that. When
Yeah.
someone's picking a coach and they're listening to us,
Yes. Yes.
what's some advice you would get when choosing a coach?
Wow. Well, of course, I want to say, well, go on to the International Coach Federation website.
Yep.
But you and I both know, like, for example, you've decided not to get an ICF credential. And I don't blame you because, who's like an institution is going to tell you the thousands and thousands of people that you've worked with is enough. It's like
Yeah.
you're uncertifiable. You're like such a
It could be, and you know
magnificent
what?
gift.
It could be my
Yeah.
ego as well. It doesn't matter. I'm 56. I'm happy. I just want you to know that when you're
Yeah.
picking a coach, go to it, go to the ICF,
Yes.
continue on.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
don't have
well,
to discount it.
the ICF kind of weeds some people out because there's 8 core competencies to coaching that are really, really important. And every coach that honors those competencies and those ethical guidelines is doing the purity of coaching. And so many people are just throwing that word out there and they're actually doing mentoring or they're actually doing consulting or they're actually doing therapy or they're doing hypnotherapy. And so this word is so watered down, people don't even trust it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I would really ask, what is your training background? There's so many people that are just going out there saying, listen, you can be a coach in 3 days, right? Follow this cookie
Oh,
cutter approach.
I was at the baristas and they said, "What do you do?" I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I've always struggled with what to say. Like I'm a life coach, I'm a business
Yeah.
coach, I'm a solution focused coach." I decided
Yeah.
to just say I'm a professional coach, and everyone's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what sport?" But anyway, she goes, "Oh, I could be a
Right.
coach. I think I'd be good at that because I give
Yes.
good advice." And I'm like,
Yes.
"Great, that's awesome. Have a great day." I never give advice.
No. Okay. Because listen, if you give advice to someone, you are playing expert in their life. Okay. Do you
Yeah,
really want someone else to be the
yeah.
expert of your own life?
I know you
You're
better
giving
than
away all
you.
your power as soon as you let
Yeah.
someone be the expert of your life. Okay.
Well,
Now, on the
yeah,
low logical
but hang
levels,
on, but hang on now.
yes.
Tell the
Okay.
people like that was great. That's a
Yes.
great. When someone else is the expert in your life, you're giving away all your power, your
Yes,
partner,
sir.
right? Like, and so to take that power back, you don't need to battle them. You need to do the work and become the expert in
Yes.
your life. You need to do the deep
Yes.
dive, empower yourself. You don't need to fight people. You need to
Right.
empower yourself with coaching, education, learning, reading, so
Yes.
that's super important.
Become a masterful communicator. That's what my
Yes.
10 hours as a free gift, which is normally, I was
300 bucks,
charging
400 bucks.
297
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone said,
yeah.
Rae, you should be charging at least $1,000 for this. So it's like I'm giving it to everyone for free. It's such an exceptional gift of just working through those key distinctions. And they're really, really powerful distinctions around how do you actually bring out the best in another human being? The definition of coaching that I love the most is to awaken and inspire the greatness in another person.
That's right.
It's so powerful. And you're giving them responsibility for their life. Because here's the key thing. So let's say, Keith, you're coaching me. And, at the very, very end of the coaching session, you say, great job, Rae. Here's your 3 actions. And you tell me what to do. Okay. And I go, yes, sir, Keith, you're the expert in my life. I'm going to go do those things. You wouldn't do that. Okay. Because you would have me define my own
Yep,
action.
yep, yep,
Okay.
yep.
But let's suppose you told me what to do.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's say I go out into the world and I do those 3 things and they don't work out. So who am I going to blame for the
Me.
fact that they didn't work out?
Me, I
Yeah.
told you to do it.
You told me to do it. Okay. And I'm
Right.
like, Keith isn't that great of a coach, right? So then I'm not taking responsibility. Let's say I go out and do those 3 things and they work and they're like so amazing.
Thank
They're just
God you
off the
got
charts.
Keith. He's the reason you're
That Keith,
successful.
right? Okay. So you get all the power and I have
Yeah.
no power. You are either put on the pedestal or you're put in the pit. Okay. But it's all about Keith, and Keith is the expert of my life. I'm either, and by the way, as soon as you are put on a pedestal, at some point, someone's going to put you down in the pit.
Oh, you fall.
Okay.
You
That's
fall.
the game. That's
I
the
put
game.
Wayne
Nobody
Dyer
wants
on a
that.
pedestal. I put Robin Sharma on a pedestal. You know what's interesting about this is I had a conversation with my son way back in the day, and I coached him, and then he went out and did it, and I was like, see what I did there? And he goes, yeah, Dad, I'm the one that did it. You were the co-pilot. Like, we had a long convo, and
Oh,
I
I
loved
love
it.
that.
Yeah, and
I
that's what
got
I am
chills.
as a coach. I'm your co-pilot. You fly the plane. I ask you
Yes.
questions like, are you sure you want to fly into that mountain? If you didn't fly into that mountain, what other paths could you take? Oh, maybe I would go, whatever. And the beauty of that was, for me, it gave me some solace because, when we do a coaching conversation, we're actually structured people. We don't just wing it. We have what we call the
Yes.
coaching arrow or the structure to it. And at the end,
Yes.
we always ask the client, like, what was a learning or takeaway? And I used to
Yes.
think that was like for my ego to say, oh, good, they got it. It was to
Yes.
solidify for them the aha moment so
Yes.
that they have it again. And then we
Yes.
go into this moment of celebration, which I always felt was fake, which was this place of like, ooh, I don't like this part. And now I've learned that it's super important to acknowledge the vulnerability in the room.
Yeah, because people rarely celebrate themselves,
Very
right?
well, it's fourth in the 4 quadrants celebration.
Yeah, and
We
it's
can't
like,
or don't explore our values, and we can't see the value we created for our life by exploring our values. I mean, I understood that only in the last module with she was a wonderful, wonderful coach, wonderful moderator, Guido's wife.
oh, Heather Parks. She's amazing. Yeah,
Heather
she's
Parks. So
beautiful.
Heather
Yeah.
had the last thing, and we'd seen the 4 quadrants of, and I was like, okay. And then she did it. And all of a sudden I had this,
Yeah.
she was the one that I needed to hear do it to get my aha moment. And because for me, I never celebrated.
Yes.
The first time I really celebrated in my life with my coach, Zaina, who I was in the course with you at the time, we're still coaching each other. She walked me through that process of celebration. I was on a high for 2 weeks. I felt like
so
it was
powerful.
amazing. And then it went away again, and then I went back to the not celebrating again. But anyways.
Yes. Well, can we just talk about the coaching container? Because I'm not sure that everyone really understands the structure of a coaching session. And I think it's useful because you were committing, or I'm sorry, not committing, but you were talking about your therapeutic experience not being solution focused. And this is the key distinction. Every coaching session has a very clear beginning structure and ending structure. And then the middle is where all of our coaching tools, and, the art and science of coaching taught at least 100 coaching tools. And, throughout the last 20 years, I've been gathering, just like you, 1,000 tools. Okay. So we've got all of these beautiful weapons to do this extraordinary Kung Fu dance with our clients, right?
Absolutely.
So my son's a martial artist. So, I'm really a Bruce Lee.
So when you're
fan.
out there, guys, and you're picking your coach, make sure you're working with someone who is a trained coach with a process and a system, and not just an expert. Like, there's so many people out here that they have a career in something, then they become a coach, and they just tell and mentor. They're just a mentor. They're not a coach. A coach,
or they have one system that they don't have any tools. Like, they have one particular model that they're rocking over and over and over again. It's like being in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
Or they go to, I don't mean to call this out, but I did Brandon Bouchard's performance coach program. And it was this, this very, like, literally reading from a piece of paper. Now, I think Brandon Bouchard's amazing, but I was like, oh my God, I would never do this to another human being. Like, literally treat them, they're like everybody else, and that they have no uniqueness, and that this one system is going to work for everybody. It never does.
Well, and you know what, Rae? When you were at Ericsson, you stepped in with Marilyn Atkinson, who is an amazing psychologist, and you really brought that program to life.
Thank
And
you. Yes.
you actually created a program where you made me a coach without having to go out and be in a dialogue by it. You know, you gave me the structure, but you
Yes.
know what? You gave us, what did you give us? Like because you're saying, like, and I know there's coaching out of the box, there's all these people that come up with these things and people take the
Yeah.
training and then they go and do it. I wouldn't be doing this for 12 years if I had to do the same thing over and over.
Oh, can you
And
imagine? And
oh
nobody is the same. We're each a unique, beautiful spark of cosmic awesomeness. Like
yeah,
everybody is different. And so when you have so coaching sessions, a 30-minute coaching session would be about 10 minutes of building rapport and setting the outcome. And there's a very specific way to set the outcome
yep,
because the client is setting the outcome, not the coach.
that's right.
And it's the Russian doll phenomenon. We want to get to the heart of the truest outcome that is literally like
Peel
the
the
difference that
layers
will
back,
make the
peel the
difference.
layers back, right? All the way to
Yeah.
the, I'm not asking for the business because I'm insecure, because of how I was raised, my belief system. I'm not
Yes.
worthy of love. I'm not worthy of respect. I have no value as a human being, right? Okay, now we're there. Is that true? Byron Katie's work, whatever. And then you go to the
Yes.
logical levels and you build it up again. Again, what I want
Yes.
people to know, and we can't get it in detail, we follow a structure. And
Yes.
when you do it thousands of hours like you and I have, it is now integrated into us.
Yes.
We do this and we provide such a great space for people to tap into their potential by
Yes.
by holding that room and then also holding that responsibility of not doing surface coaching.
Oh yeah. No. And I mean some coaching sessions are just transactional,
Sure.
okay? But a great coach will go to a transformational level, and then an even greater coach has the ability to go into transcendence. And for example, I just finished literally right before this call, I had a coaching session and it's her second session. Okay, now this is an extremely brilliant woman. She has taken every course under the sun. She's a hypnotherapist and she's just extraordinary. I've known her actually for a decade, and this is the first time she's hired me. So we're in session number 2. And she's like, Rae, for the first time in my life, I am actually within that 15-second window of like the ants come marching in. She's like, I can regulate myself and take myself home without reacting
Yeah.
for the first time in my
Powerful. I
life.
know. Well, I
For
had
the
a
first
session.
time.
I had a session this morning and someone said in one session she's accomplished more with me than 2 years of therapy.
It's crazy. Now, can I show something? I'm actually going to write this out, okay? Because there's a really, so when we talk about the line, okay, so here's the line,
Yeah.
right? There's life below the line and there's life above the line, okay?
Yeah.
Now, at the bottom, I'm going to write the word, and everyone can join me if they want. I'm writing the word reactor, okay? Can
Yeah.
you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, right above that, I'm going to write the word creator. Because when you're above the line, you're a creator. Okay. Now, Keith, when you see these two words, there's only one difference. What's
That's
the
right.
difference between these
All
two
you
words?
got to do is move the C, Rae.
Yes, the C is the only thing that's different. So that's what a coach does. A coach helps you see first. So
That's
when
right.
you actually focus on what you want, because we're so caught up in our story and the ants are marching all over the place, we can't control this brain. It's crazy.
Right.
That's why your book
Yep.
is so important. This is why
Mhm.
this book is so critical for everybody to read, because you help people see first.
That's right.
And, that's all that it really takes. That's why solution focused is so powerful, because a solution focused coach only asks questions that help someone get to a more meaningful, resourceful place. So they
better
keep
outcome.
incrementally going up and up and up. And you never leave a coaching session feeling worse than when you arrived, ever.
No, can't.
It's always a gift every single time, unless the coach is crappy and they're not well trained and they're following a cookie cutter system and they don't know how to bring out the best in somebody. But
That's
every
right.
single coaching session you do, every single coaching session I do, because we're very well trained, because we took the time to learn. We hired the mentors. We did basically a master's degree in coaching, and then have been doing thousands of programs since then. Maybe not thousands, but certainly thousands, if not hundreds
So,
of
you know,
thousands of
I
dollars
just,
of
I just,
coaching, right?
I just
Yeah.
want the people to hear, you know, out there, when they're picking their coach, take this information you're hearing from us, go out there, talk to people. If you see this ideology or this theory of you have the answers, then hire them. But if it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to be this, you now have given your power up. You're just as powerless as you were before you even started. You want somebody to empower you to get to your genius, to do your life, your rules, your way, you know.
Yes.
And you know, Rae, couple of things here. The people also get the Gremlin Busters, the Masterful Communication Roadmap. These are great things. Rae's also doing another course. Guys, if you do the Masterful Communication Roadmap and you just click on the link and go through it, listen to it in your car, and you like that and you want even more of Rae, what could they do next?
Oh, I'll tell you what. Okay, so first of all, Keith, can I just kind of, like, for anyone that's on YouTube, I just want to pull this up really quick. So the gift that is going to be on your website, okay, you're going to link to this. So it's raechois.com
That's right.
gift. Okay. So you just, you would just put your name in here. So this is what I'll do right now, just really quick. And then you're downloading this free gift that's called 4 Ways. Now listen to this. This is so powerful, right? 4 ways not to sabotage yourself. Okay.
Yes.
So this is the art of becoming a present and confident leader. And so you just, would click on that. You get this document. Now it's a really powerful document. I just want to show you how cool it is. And it's a very specific self-coaching process.
We'll show that when you go full screen, right? We'll show that when you go full screen. Right now, we've got the landing page that they go to get the gift.
Yeah, so this is the Masterful Communication Roadmap that everybody is also going to get for free. So this one is free, and it's so powerful when you coach yourself through this. And then you just go into this, and this is this beautiful program that I designed that I'm giving to everybody. So you just click through this. I just want to show everyone. So you just click on Learn More, and it will take you to the next page. Okay. And then it says download your first free gift here. So when you click on that, that's when you get the
4 ways not to sabotage
4 ways not to sabotage yourself. So just, save that to your computer and then come back here. Okay. And then download your second free gift. And that's when you get this beautiful 6-module program. And you just click through it. It's absolutely extraordinary. So, the foundations of becoming a masterful communicator is module 1. Module 2, how to succeed as a masterful communicator. And I go into very intricate detail, and you get the transcripts of this as well. So you can literally follow along with it, right?
Yep.
How to create connection and build trust, how to build trust and intimacy. I go into a lot of detail around those beautiful sleight of hand ways that are not manipulation. They're just pure love, really, in action, and are essential for great leadership. Okay, if you want to connect with people, the things that you know do,
what, anybody in the world that wants to be successful at anything has to communicate with other human beings. 2 things humans think they do really well that they don't: breathe and communicate. If they learned how to breathe better and connect with their bodies better and communicate better, they would have way more success. Except they all think they're experts at it because they've been doing it their whole life. This course is broken down. Rae, you tell great stories. You facilitate it very, very, very in depth and well. And, and everyone, it's there for you. You can just click on it. So let's get out of this screen for a second, Rae, and let's go to.
Absolutely. So if anyone goes through it, because I'll answer your question, if anyone actually takes the time to go through it, reach out to me, because you're going to be a candidate for an exceptional coaching program. Okay. So I only work with coaches right now, people that have at least a basic understanding of coaching. But anyone that goes through that program, you're going to get a basic understanding of coaching, because even though it's not coaching, it's the distinctions of coaching so that you can communicate at the highest level. And coaching is the technology of the 21st century. End of story.
Oh, absolutely.
Regulating your nervous
Absolutely.
system and learning coaching skills. Everybody who wants to be successful in whatever career it is, you got to learn coaching, not necessarily just become a coach, but integrate it into your
Oh,
parenting, into
yeah,
your
yeah.
love life. Everything improves with
Yeah.
coaching.
And if you're a leader in a business practice, creating a coaching culture, a
Yes.
coaching culture is you accept people where they're at and you help them to become better. You can't fix a car if you don't know how the car works. How are you going to fix yourself if you don't know how you work? A coach allows you to
Yes.
access those things and understand yourself that you wouldn't normally get. And then you walk away with things where the rubber hits the road, even if it's just a mindful practice of meditation, or if it's a action to take dailies and journaling or whatever you end up coming away with from the session. Rae, we've covered the power in question, unlocking people's minds. We talked about communication. Listening is what we're going to finish on, because I believe that the world needs this more than anything else. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about listening and how important that is in this world today?
Well, I'll just distinguish 4 levels of listening. There's actually beyond that, once you continue to advance yourself and go even bigger. But let's just get really clear. Most people listen at level 1. It's our automatic listening. It's what we do all day, every day. Okay. And that's where we're listening to respond. So you say something, okay, and then in my world, either I say it verbally or just do it internally. I either agree with it or disagree with it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's like me or that's not like me. Oh, I have an example of that or I don't have an example of that. And I'm always in the evaluation of what's going on,
Right.
which is probably the way some people have been listening to this conversation,
I
right?
basically I say it's just your way of hearing and then waiting to talk, waiting to give it back.
Right, because there isn't any space. There
That's
isn't,
right.
because you're not truly actually listening to the person, you're thinking up your own response. And so, when you're in that conversation, it can be kind of fun, like if you're chatting with your friend, but if you're really like doing, you're having a heart-opening moment or a heart-closing moment, like you're in a lot of pain, it's like somebody that's listening to you in that way it's really dysfunctional. It's very painful and it's very frustrating, and you're not going to evolve in that
Yeah.
experience. But yet, we're not taught to listen any other way. It's just
No.
automatic,
Well, now we're going to
right?
get to level 2, and we're going to start showing people the depth of listening, right?
Yes. Okay. So let me just use a metaphor here because I think this is a good one. So level 1 listening. I used to way back when work on cruise ships, and I was actually at the end of the night. Sometimes I would do some stage stuff and be a performer, but other times I was running the spotlight. Okay. And so if you think of a spotlight going between, Keith, Keith is talking and Rae's like thinking, 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 and then the spotlight switches to me, right? And back and forth. Okay. That's level 1. The light's on you, then the light's on me, then the light's on you, then the light's on me. And there's just, we're in this automatic space. But when I shift and I listen at level 2, I actually remove myself, my agenda, my preferences, my opinions, my suggestions, okay? And I put the spotlight on you. And when a coach puts a spotlight on the other person, okay, or just anybody, it doesn't have to be a coach. Like when I do this with my son, which I did last night, my son called me
Hmm.
crying saying, I need some coaching. And I was so honored that he did that.
Hmm.
And, he broke his stick. He actually broke 2 sticks yesterday. Can you
Hmm.
imagine? Then he was
Hmm.
late for a big event and got in trouble. And, the poor kid is like, he's an elite athlete in a boarding school and he's
Yeah.
doing really well. But he has these moments where he's like, this is too much. Like, it's
Yep.
just a lot for me. I'm only 17 years old. So anyway, he called me and we did a beautiful coaching session last night. And I turned off being mom. I turned off being,
Yep.
mama bear who's going to save him from this. And I just put the spotlight on him and we went through a beautiful unfolding. And so I didn't bring in myself. I didn't bring in my preferences, my opinions, my suggestions, all the things that I believe he should do. I actually had him figure out what he should do.
Right.
And through that listening, I turn off myself and I just focus on you. So you're in the spotlight. And when somebody's in the spotlight and you remove yourself, there's only one special, beautiful technology that's left. Okay. There's actually 2 technologies. So number 1 is backtracking their words and letting them know that you hear them. Okay.
Yep.
And number 2 is the power of questions.
Right.
And, being a custodian of beautiful questions, I just wrote a list of, 135 of the best questions that myself, as a great mentor and all the colleagues that I'm surrounded by came up with. And it's like, these questions are just remarkable. That's like only like a small little dip or a little
Mhm.
like sprinkle of questions, but these 135 are the best ones we know of. And I just wrote them all out. And I was just so in awe of how extraordinary they are. Because when you ask those questions, the world opens. But that's not where
Yes.
you want to stop with your listening. You want to expand it out. So level 3 is where you expand the spotlight and it goes wider. So if you think of the spotlight just on somebody's upper body, that's level 2 listening. Expanding it out is where you start to go into level 3 listening. And this is where you take in the person's whole life.
Mhm.
You're listening for the ecology of what's going on. And ecology is just a fancy way of saying the wholeness of who they are. You're
Mhm.
listening for who they are as a parent. You're listening for who they are as a wife or a husband, who they are as a leader, who they are as a global citizen, who they are as a neighbor. So it's a bigger picture, and you can start to ask questions acknowledging their future, acknowledging the greatness of who they're becoming, what their new identity is that's awakening. So that's a wider space. Okay, so that's level 3. So when you access level 3 listening, boy, do people transform in that space. That's when
Mhm.
transcendence can actually happen in somebody's life. And it doesn't need to take long, because that level of listening gives them access to the vertical connection of their higher self. They
That's
get
right.
access to something that is
Their
so much bigger. They're
purpose, their
super
legacy, their
conscious.
meaning, the,
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And they
God
don't
or
have no
universe.
idea it's
Yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah,
through.
for
And it's
sure.
like they just get it.
Yeah.
There's tears, there's
That's the
awakening.
that I call that the aha moments that they
Oh
wouldn't
yeah.
see normally, right? But yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Because your peripheral vision opens.
that's right.
It's like you have access to something. It's the accordion of the mind. You open way,
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
way
You
out.
start to
And
go into the beyond conscious mind. You start to go into, into that subconscious area of wisdom that you don't access through the conscious
right.
thinking.
You're accessing the part of you that grows your hair, the part of you that grows your
Mhm.
nails, right? Functions your heart. And then you start to tap into the expanded part of you that is, grows the grass, right? And the
Mhm.
flowers blossoming and the sun rising. Like, we can tap into that energy and you start to get access to that. Now, it sounds really woo woo, but it's so unbelievably practical. That's what the
It's only
Einsteins
woo
of the
woo. It's
world
only
do.
woo woo. It's only woo woo when you don't want to experience. I've experienced things in my life that have made
Yeah.
me, and I'm not a woo woo guy. I remember actually being
Yeah.
in the chorus and Zaina was there, and I even said to you, like, I don't really believe in all this woo woo
Woo
stuff.
woo
Remember
stuff.
that? I said that
Yeah.
to
And I
you.
said, you don't have to believe in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't.
yeah.
I encourage you not to.
But now I've
Yeah.
experienced it, and I want
Yeah.
others to experience it. So that's the area that I provide. The space that I provide is, I come in
Yeah.
and they get the woo woo stuff, but they don't know they got the woo woo stuff. But then when they
Right. I
get it, they
mean, think
can't
about it. Do
unlearn
you
it.
think the mind of like someone, an Einstein or an Elon Musk, I mean, they don't have a normal brain. They're doing
Right.
something the rest of us are not doing. They have access to something and it's called their genius. So they're not just playing in their conscious mind. So the great leaders of the planet, I'm not saying that Elon Musk is a
Yeah,
great leader,
yeah,
but
yeah.
anyway, it's just they have access to something. What do you think that is? They're doing work on themselves to expand their consciousness.
Yeah.
And that once your mind expands, it never returns to its original dimension. That's what's so important. That's why every coaching session expands the mind. And then, it's like taking a vitamin. You take another vitamin, you take another. You don't go to the gym
You
once,
can't unlearn
right?
what you learn. You can't unlearn what you learn. I can go to the gym, not go to the gym, and my muscle will get smaller. It will
Yes.
but once you learn in your mind, and once you get that learning in a deep level
Yes.
3,
Yeah.
then you can't unlearn it because it's a truth. You're actually getting to your truth of
Yes.
who you are, what you're meant to do, where, all that stuff.
Yes.
So why don't we go through level 4 real quick, and then we'll tie it
Yeah,
all up.
beautiful. Okay, so everybody that is focused on their own development knows about heart coherence, where the brain and the heart actually get into a synchronized place, and that's when your nervous system is regulated. So science, anyone that has studied heart math, and it's the power of the breath and just creating the connection between this very
Yeah.
far distance, the 14 inches, right? It's like the
Mhm.
furthest distance to go. But once you can create that heart connection, when someone's listening to at level 3, they're doing that for themselves. Level 4 is when the coach's heart opens. And then there is a heart coherence beyond the heart coherence beyond. It's a multiplication effect of the experience, right? So the coach's heart is open, not to get involved in the client's experience, but because of that open-heartedness, they're a greater channel for even more expanded questions, because they're the space, they're the condition to receive something bigger than their own ego or their
That's
own
right.
identity.
That's,
So then the
that was,
question is not generated by me.
yeah.
The question flows through me. I'm a conduit.
So,
And then I'm
okay,
a
so-
conduit, and then I'm a reservoir of continuing the energy, because
and
it's
that's
like
what
you're
I want
basking in it.
people, I want people to understand out there,
Yeah.
you know, when we are in that space, we actually are just asking questions. We're not thinking of the questions to ask, which they won't understand. But then what
Yes.
happens is when they're in that space with us and they go, wow, great question. You know, the client will say to me, could you repeat that? I don't even know what the question was.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So then I have to reframe and go, you know, either to my default, you know, what is the next best question I could ask that would take it even deeper for you? And then they give you the
Yeah,
question.
well, don't minimize that question, because
I
you're giving
know.
them 100% responsibility.
I
And
know.
when
Oh,
someone
yeah.
comes up with their own question in that moment, it's really powerful, Keith. It's like they take responsibility, and they're the leader. So we were talking at the very beginning of this conversation around, you know, the leader, somebody who's a
Mhm.
leader. We're all enlightened leaders of our own life. And the more we take 100% responsibility and really are leading our own greatest version of ourselves and constantly expanding, it just gets better and better and better. That's why everybody needs to receive coaching, and everybody needs to learn coaching skills. Their life will, all it's going to do is multiply and enhance all the greatness that already exists within them. And it's so beautiful to have that giving and receiving of energy. It's not just beautiful, it's practical.
Well,
It's a hack. It's the
yes.
fast track to
Oh.
greatness in any area of your life.
Well, you
Is
know, when
learn
I
the
signed up,
skills, use them with your kids, use them with your
yeah,
partner. Okay. It's
when I
just
signed
like,
up at Ericsson, I did not expect it to
yeah,
be transformational. I expected to become a coach, an expert. I didn't expect to go down that deep path, because as we were learning how to coach, we were breaking off for these coaching sessions. We were there for
yes,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we were
yes,
all encapsulated and we break away. And so we got coached and coached and coached, and we did mentors tables and vision work.
yes,
And all of a sudden, everything started. And that was the beauty for me, was once I experienced it, I wanted everybody to experience it. And so, you know, that's why I'm gifted for the rest of my life to be able to be a coach, whether I'm doing it for money or I'm just retired and
yeah.
doing it for fun or whatever. You know, the ability to expand people beyond this limited
Mm,
space is so rewarding. And for everyone that's out there that's been with me, they're like, wow, you know, this is the coach that I had, and I didn't know he went through this process to get there. And that's why I think it's important, because a lot of people have created stories about coaching, and they just want to, you know, someone charges $50, they're better, they're the same as someone else. And it's like, you know, the
no,
ripple effect
yeah,
in your life
yeah,
is immense. So, Rae, to wrap it all up, thank you.
yes.
Thank you
I
so
feel like we're
much.
just getting started. Let's
I
train these beautiful
know.
souls in coaching distinctions, right? It's like there's so much more. But even just those 4 levels of listening can literally, when practiced,
Yeah.
like just that shift from level 1 to level 2 listening, it literally transformed my life. I had no idea that I could turn off my own thought process and actually hear somebody.
Well, and the other thing that people
Literally
need to know
hear.
is that we're human, and when we start thinking, is the laundry out or not, we go to wait.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking? Why am I talking? Which
Right, an
stops us.
acronym. Did everybody get that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why
Why am
am
I
I
talking?
talking? Yes.
Yeah. And the beauty of that is when I go into coach position, we did this, it was amazing. You know, what do they
Mhm.
call that when you're in NLP and you want to land something? So you do a physical, what's that
Anchoring.
called?
Yeah,
Anchoring, right?
anchoring. Yes.
So I have a
Yes.
vision that anchors me, and that's that vision of coach position that you
Yes.
walked me through way back in the day. And that
Mm,
vision today is as clear today as it was back then. And that's what I want people to understand. You know, your dream becomes a reality when it's a vision with a plan. And that
Oh,
plan
yes.
is your plan. The vision is in there. Hire a coach that's going to take you to that next level because they want you to become more of you and not more of them.
Exactly. And can I just say something? I did something called a vision walk, my very first coaching session with Richard Hyams in the art and science of coaching. I took the course just like you did, right? And then I became a trainer of it
The
eventually.
mastery walk or the vision walk?
It was the vision walk. It was actually the vision walk. I followed up with the mastery walk afterwards, but it was the vision walk. And I had a 10-year vision, right? That I was going to co-author books, and I was going to actually not co-author books, but I would have an international practice and I would be an author and blah, 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 and would be a master certified coach. And all of that stuff happened. It was a 10-year vision, but it happened in half the time, like all of it, and so much more, because that was activated within me. I never worked with Richard ever again. We only did that one coaching session.
Yeah.
But it all came true.
Well,
just
you know
from
what?
that
Yeah.
experience.
Well, you took the dream and you put it out there. Instead of leaving it out there, you put it out there. I mean, the thing
Yes.
is, and the powerful part of working with a coach that does guide and visionary is you get to experience the future state you want to be, feel those feelings, come back to the moment, and you're more, you're 300% more wanting to get it. Like, we're so tight on time. I got 5 minutes. I got a client come in here.
Oh
So
my gosh.
just,
Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta go.
I just want to keep going. I hope
I
everyone
know.
out there.
I want to keep going. I want to keep going. So I really hope that whoever's listening to this got tremendous value. And this is an exceptional, exceptional document. It's really, really a powerful coaching tool. And, anybody that goes through those 10 hours, reach out to me after you go through them, because either I'll offer you an individual coaching session. And by the way, my coaching starts minimum $20K. So I would give that, anyone that invests in themselves like that, I want to gift you even more. So anyone that does that, reach out to me, or you can become part of my coaching program, which is absolutely off the chain. I promise you, it's a total money back guarantee. Either it completely changes your life, or I will work with you personally until it does, or I give you all your money back. Yeah. Okay, that's how much I believe in the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you either invest in yourself because nobody else is going to invest in you. So Rae, thank you so much. Thank you for, impacting my life and getting me out of my sarcastic, narcissistic self into the world that I'm into now.
I love this book, Keith. Like, seriously, I was tearful in many moments in this book. You tell such exceptional stories and so many great case studies. I can't believe how extraordinarily powerful this is. I just feel so honored that you took all those distinctions and rolled them into such a powerful, powerful book. And anyone that hasn't read this, they must. It's literally a game changer.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. it's hard to self-promote sometimes, but yes. I appreciate that. So everyone, that's Rae Chois, and you're going to all click on the link to get the great giveaways, which are amazing. Just because they're free, don't discount them. Lean in, do something different, get yourself to that next level. All right. Well, I've got clients at the door, Rae, so I'm going to have to let you go. All right.
Sounds exceptional. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everybody. So great. See you later. So awesome. Bye. Appreciate it. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Master Your Genius. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. See you next time.